All right. Grande.
Speech, not just like passing element, right? So that's what is involved in this, right? This is two charges immediately, right? All right. So I have to start again from the beginning. All right. As I said, today I would like us to explore games and simulation or simulations in relation to instruction or learning, right? How these could be utilized to help learners learn, right? Right. So when you talk about the games and simulation, it's more taking us into activities because it's an activity, right? So in the instruction, there is an emphasis on the activities because they will provide the experience to the learners. The learners are learning without an activity, they cannot experience. I mean, the learning process could be slow, but once there's an activity, they will be experiencing something, and in the process, they're going to easily recall what is being taught, right? So instructional games and simulations are just part of it, and those one of those activities that are designed to help students learn. And also, the other element of this is the fact that the participants are going to be active participants, not passive participants, right? What we mean, it means they're not just going to sit there and watch and listen. They have to be taking part in that process of learning, right? And the other element is it's more or less like you are inducing the process of learning because these activities usually they don't most of the times feel as if it's something that is a burden for the sake of it. Most of them they are designed in the sense that they should be exciting, right? To the extent that the learners are excited and they enjoy the activity, right? So when they enjoy the activity, it's easier for them even to grasp the concept because they are enjoying it. I think when we talk about games, even if you ask kids games, you give them maybe PlayStation, whatever, they don't think about learning. They just think about enjoying, right? Yeah, we are playing a game. They don't know that the more they play those games, if you see some of these complicated games whereby they are solving something, right? They are adding math, or even some of these simulated games, as we are going to see, whereby I think that those are the ones usually that are used in the PlayStations, the Xbox, and the like, whereby it's as if you are going to a virtual world and you are making decisions, right? You are finding a police officer. You have to make a decision what to do, right? Yeah. Although we're going to see that that's where the differences will be between just a game and simulation, because we need to differentiate the two. Okay, that where is the line between these two, right? Because the line is going to be seen as we are going to explore later. That on the game is straightforward, right? You play, there are specific rules. You have to abide by the rules. If you don't abide by the rules, you're going to fail. There is a criteria, specific criteria for how to win, who is going to win, and who is going to fail, right? But when you go to simulation, you discover that it's the same game, but now there might not be a specific criteria to say this is a winner. It could happen. You could discover that somebody could use another way and it will be justifiable. Some will use another way. For example, some of these complicated games where you are seeing that in a new world, in a normal world, if you are going into the streets, you don't shoot a police officer, right? But we have got games whereby you have got a liberty to take maybe something to shoot a police officer. And you are going to be progressing to the next stage, right? But you say, why do you do this? But according to that game, it could be that they just want to gauge the decision making of some people. It's not like they're trying to just direct it in one direction. So that's where maybe we are going to try to differentiate the two. But the bottom line is that all these, they are like, it's just like a way of trying to teach or the students without making them feeling as if they are just being bombarded by information, right? But they are like participating, they are also excited about the thing, the game. What else? Games and the simulation. That's just one of the maybe advantage. Assist in developing cognitive skills such as in language and the numerical skills, quite apart from manipulative skills. So when they say cognitive skills, you see the where it comes to the decision making process, how to think, right? It will enable the learners because they will be given options, right, to make a decision. So when you are given option to make a decision, it means you have to think to say, okay, which is the best option, right? So it's going to be helping them to do that. At the same time, even to have, when they say numerical skills, in terms of people have got problems in terms of the when it comes to mathematics and also even sciences, right? I'm saying that in our country, we have a problem, maybe in our education system sometimes, whereby we only usually have, most of the times, primary school, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4, maybe 1, 2, 1, 2, whereby they are going to be relating to actual things, right? 1 mango, 2 mango. And the kids are going to be easily grasping the points, right? All of a sudden, in the secondary, algebra, A, B, C. So now you discover that, okay, people are trying to do, but now there's a mismatch whereby some they fail to connect that to the real things, right? And even they will just see it as difficult because they're not able to think beyond that, right? But if you can have a game and you be using the same idea to say, okay, you are going to start from there. You do this. When you reach here, you have to solve this. You see, they'll be thinking, right? And you know, kids nowadays, they can solve complex, even mathematics, in a game, right? But the more they do that, they'll be acquiring that skill. So it's just some of the examples why they do that. I'm saying that because I discovered that in the first world, I mean, let's not use the first world, because although when you are there, it feels like a first world. Somehow say, why do they say this one? They are living in the first world. And when they say, why? But literally, because of the development, you can even literally say, I think this is not the same world we are living on earth, but it's whatever, it's a developing country. They usually like to do that in universities, whereby you have activities by maybe college students, but they will incorporate the same activities for kids, right? So kids will come, will be usual for kids. They just design games, right? They will design games. They will incorporate physical, maybe physical science or science materials and mathematical materials, and the kids are very eager to solve them. So what they do, they will design games and they will introduce a reward, right? Meaning, if you solve this, you are going to get this, maybe a door, or maybe you're going. So because of that, you see, they'll be encouraged to do that. As time goes, they'll be easily, getting the point. So they utilize the same idea of the games and simulation. And the benefits, as I say already, there's that cognitive skills, and also being able to have that numerical skills. Also, students, they develop positive attitudes and feelings, such as of fairness and self-control, right? So it will be some other games whereby their people are tested, yeah? to see what decisions they are going to do. They're going to say, okay, there's money here, there's a beer here. If you get this money, you're going to do this. If you get, so you should make a decision, right? So that's why they're testing. What can I do here? So I mean, that's what they do. And the benefits will be that if you incorporated this into the activities, it will be something that is going to be beneficial to the process of learning. So, what is a game, right? And as we already talk about definitions in our stage, I mean, most of the concepts could have, or maybe have got so many definitions, right? You can't say that's because I've defined it like this, I'm wrong. The only difference will be some will have short definitions, some will be broader definitions. The broader definitions are better. You can make it broader as long as you know what you're talking about. Right here, somebody says that a game is a form of structured play or activity that is taken freely by players for their own enjoyment and often entertainment, right? Because this one is not instructional game, it's just a game, right? So we can notice that there's that element of, first of all, is something that is structured, right? Well structured. One is structured, is an activity, and is also taken freely by a player. There should be a player or players, and also usually this is taken because maybe someone want to achieve enjoyment or fulfill a certain need in terms of enjoyment or entertainment, right? So that's one of the definition. And also you could have the same games whereby they will be having goals, right? In the game you have specific goals, because when a player is playing, there is a certain goal in which this particular player would like to achieve, right? And in that process of playing, also to be a game, it has rules, right? Because if it doesn't have rules, it cannot be a game. So it's a game because first of another element is there are rules that are supposed to be followed, and also in the game there are going to be challenges that are going to be faced, and another element could be played by one player, one person, or there could be more players, right? That are going to be played, right? Are playing. So, in terms of the definitions, I'm saying you might have different definitions depending on maybe the context of the games and how vast the game is. Because some other games are very basic, some are very complicated. So, an example here, you could have games that are going to be to do with sports. You have got the games that are going to do like body games, whereby it's just a board. You play like you say snakes and ladders, right? You could have a video game, right? Whereby you are using cartridges and the like. Then you're gonna have a mobile games, the ones that you use in your phones, right? And you have different types of games in different formats. So they might have different. You might define them based on what maybe you are talking about. Okay, so right. So as I say that some of the traits of the games, as we already talked about, we have said that it contains structured activities where players freely engage in pursuit of various goals, and there are roles and the rules and the challenges for different outcomes. So this is like more or less like a summary of trying to say what a game is and what is involved in a game. Because if it's going to be a game, had it been, there's nothing to do with entertainment or enjoyment. I think it will be a problem even people to be learning. Because I remember even in the primary school, we were saying in our time, they say the time for PE, right? That was the only time you say we are not going to be in the classroom. So everybody was excited, right? We're going to go to the ground. So we were not even taking that period as if it's something, it's a period whereby we're going to be learning something. No. It was just like something to have fun. I mean, a period to get to have fun, right? So you discover that even most of the maybe students that were not even coming around would show up at that time. So that's how games should be. So instructional games, the same games, but now we're trying to incorporate it. So, okay, with the definitions we have talked about, now think about it that you are using the same concept for instructional purposes, right? So here it says, this is now for the instructional games, as we already talked about. Games are structured activities. Now we are like taking the definition to incorporate that element of instruction. Games are structured activities with set rules for play in which two or more students interact to reach a clearly stated instructional objective. It means if it's instructional game, it is designed to say there should be an instructional objective. To say, what after the student play this game, they should achieve this particular goal, right? Um, and usually another element that most of the games I mean also, which is obvious, if you have got games that are involving people, students or players, usually there's a winner. You cannot have games played by two people and you have two winners. It can't happen. Usually, if there are limited number of people, there's got to be one winner. If there are maybe more, there might be more winners, right? But there's a criteria in which they is followed, or they'll show you that there's this particular person is a winner, and also there's the element of competition, right? There's a competitive environment whereby it's more or less like they give people a chance, or players a chance, to think of the ways on how to achieve the goal, right? Which is going to create that competition, right? And also, most of the games, maybe we should say some of the games, there is an element of chance. If you say, they could say, okay, these are the chances of that you're going to win. If you're going to do this, maybe there's maybe 50% chance of winning, right? So there's that element of chance that is usually present. And most of these games, we talk about this element of chance, like the one that you see element where there's an element of interaction. Because when you talk about the interactive games or interaction, the aim of the games, one of the aim of the games, they are trying to achieve that interaction, right, between a learner, right? So a learner will be interacting with the game, but the actual sense is the game was designed by the instructor. So it will be like the learner or the player is interacting with the instructor. So is he or she will get I mean the response. It's like a communication process. We know, okay, this is the way maybe this particular student is by looking at the performance, right? Like here, give an example that, for instance, games in which a student picks letter or titles, right, or throws a dice include a chance, because the student cannot predetermine what letters he or will pick, or what dice would work or would throw. So those are just examples of die chances whereby you have games whereby you can't predict to say, I'll get this. So you have to rely on chance, because some other games will rely on you to go through certain steps, right? But if for a dice, if you throw a dice, what steps are you going to follow to say that I would like to get a 6? You'll be depending on, you relying on chance. I'll just throw it like this. Let's hope there's going to be a 6. Eh? You know what a dice, eh? A dice is that what do we call that cube, like gadget with numbers, on sides, usually be used by people dealing in gambling in these casinos, right? If they want to get it easy money or to lose money easily. So in America, that's why they say in Las Vegas, that's where it happens. People become millionaires and lose millions at the same time. So that's that. But normally that's a game. They use a game because in those casinos they use games to generate money, right? And so these situations is like for students who do that. But this is the common element. That's why you got to see that, okay, we in these games, first maybe a takeaway that we can take away is that they are not similar, right? We can already see there are some whereby you just need to play by the rules. You get the result. Some, you need to rely on a chance to say you should be lucky to get something, right? Some, you just need to put in more effort to do that, right? So, I mean, it will depend on what games you are going to do. But the best way is like the more complicated some of the games are, if you can think about it, the more knowledge the player will get. Because once it's too complicated, I mean, a player will be spending much more time thinking about it, right? Trying to find ways on how to solve something, right? Which is the same element that bothers us if we have got a mathematical problem, right? We'll be thinking about how to solve it. And you will be bothered and say, no, 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 I didn't proceed, I didn't get away with mathematics because I was failing to solve my specific sums, or maybe problems. But now you have got people who can challenge you that I can pass or can win any game, right? Or if you have a problem in a game, I can solve it, right? So it's the same thing. Okay. What else do we have here? So the element that I already talked about is like these games must be played in accordance with the rules of the games, which is often the inefficient. So this is another element that we can also see, that these games are inefficient. Most of these games, when they say inefficient, um, I mean you have to go by the specific rules. Yeah. Right. So as we talked about that, say that these games, you have got a specific, as I said, they are not similar. So because they are not similar, the mechanics of these games are different, right? So you have games with different mechanics on how to go about it, and then you have got also rules on each game on how to go about it. And apart from that, you also have activities, as I've said, that whereby, according to instructional games, they are games. I mean, they have got what are called goal-oriented or goal-directed activities, right? Whereby they know they want to achieve something. Now they will create an activity within that game to achieve that particular maybe intention or goal, and because it's within the set of rules, you find out that it can be framed that people are, some of these games people could not be given free chance to do anything outside of those particular maybe rules, right? So it means if you are an instructor, you say, what is your goal of this, maybe let me say lesson? I would like these people to learn A, B, C. So when the game is designed, if there are going to be activities, are going to be activities that will be leading into A, B, then C, right? So the player will not be playing to go to D. We'll be having limitations. Okay, you can't go here, you can't go here. So it will be designed like that. So if a player is going to finish that particular game, it means, I mean, the person, the knowledge has been acquired because it is the end. For example, if you say if you are a winner, it means you have managed to solve, if it's a problem, right? To solve the problem. So they are going to be something like that. So it is taken to be like inefficient because um, this is for a player whereby we will not have that much option in this circumstance if there is specific uh, goals, except if there could be maybe if the game could create specific maybe options going to the same goal. They could have maybe you could choose this path or that path or this path, but all the end result should be achieving what the designer wants, right? And they know, and the idea, as I already said, that whoever is going to design it or the way they are going to be put, there should be that element of excitement that to encourage the one who is playing to proceed, right? So the games, what they do is like, if you are solving a mathematical problem, you feel like this is a problem, right? While the same mathematical problem, if it's placed in a game, it will feel like a challenge, not a problem, right? They will place it there to say, okay, you are driving. Now, when you are driving, you need to pass here. So you'll be saying, oh, this is my challenge. I need to find ways of passing, right? But since it's a game, it feels much more exciting that you are going to try to explore ways quickly, right? Because somehow, when you say it's a problem, it would put people off. That's the way we have mathematics. They say we have got mathematic problems. Once you just say there are problems, it's like you already feel like, and you hear what other people say. Whether the mathematics, I think in Malawi we have got a problem of hearing what people are saying. Before you start the program or the course, already people have told you that, and they make you believe good mathematics are difficult. I didn't even study the learning. It could be difficult for you, but now how about these people who got maybe PhDs out of it? How did they manage to get those papers? Because it's all about the mind. Because how can you mean you can have a mathematical problem that doesn't have a solution? All these problems we have been failing in primary schools. They had the solutions. They have solutions. So our goal is, I didn't mean it was a game. We have been working hard kuti tipeze kuti solution. It's like we got a new by the game. That would be door you're looking. You strive to find the door. Maybe it's there, maybe it's there, right? But if they will write it on the paper, what I would first of all, the language you must the problem. Language, so people can understand what are they talking about. I go for like a budget. But you can see the same thing if you can be in a game, you'll be willing to do it. Like, you know, that game, I don't usually play games. No, they'll give you this PlayStation game to play. Whole day we spend in the house, whole day playing the game. No wonder I think these modern kids, I mean, it could be much more brighter into solving some of these, being a mathematics because of the games, right? And even it's surprised, they will be eager to tell you how they can navigate into a certain game. Who go about a game without even telling them much? I'm forgetting my game. How did you know what Mama Gajagude? So that's maybe the element of having a game into this. Okay, what else? Okay, lazy. I think some other theories here are coming out. Uh, um, with their theories, like one of them here, whereby he placed his theory to say that, like in the game, he defined. It's like he was trying to define the game for himself, whereby say it's like games are like it's a voluntary attempt to overcome unnecessary obstacles for him, right? And the idea to say that maybe the level of freedom of the players, right? To say you don't want to to force them, right? You want like to give them a freedom to choose, to have the willingness to play that game, right? And if they do like something like that, you know that it's more or less like that. It's a motivation already to learn. And most of the games, they say there's this concept. What they say, the magic circle, right? They say that you have games whereby it will usually accept maybe one player to come in the game and go through the processes like what is expected, go through the rules, and after that maybe another player come and do the same things, right? So as we talked about already, some of the elements of the games. What else? I didn't talk about here. See, as he obviously said that you know that the ideas of games, even the definition could be a little bit change here and there, in the sense that you can ask yourself, just look at how advanced or how games are changing, right? Games are now becoming more updated and more pronounced as before. So that's where we are. So quickly, as some of these were already talked about, some of the characteristics of the game we talked about already. Okay, like here, games are structured for instruction, interaction, right? So that's one of the obvious, right? Whereby if it's a game, you cannot have a game if there's no element of people interact. The people option for interaction, right? Because the way they were done as a game, either it's going to be one player, either it's going to be a number of players, but there is interaction that is uh, designed to be one of the center point in the games, and the whatever activities that is being found in the games are designed for that purpose of interaction. And these games, I don't know if you can think of any game whereby there is no interaction. I don't know which game is that. Right? Because when you think even about the games, it's not only when you are thinking about computer games. Any game, just from your childhood, you can think about them. When you're coming from school, Magasewera Dia Anzan Uja, that was a game. What games were you playing? So if you see all those games, which is very fun, they're going to be all the games, but all those games have got rules. Rules, and you need to be playing by the rules. If you don't play by the rules, you'll be taken out, right? But if you check off most of those, even silly games that you played, you discover that there are some other things you learned. And I think in terms of games and simulation, where you can differentiate, because I will differentiate them already. I think I don't know if you, some of you have done it before. I don't know if nowadays it's been done. But in the past, there was this game whereby kids will pretend to say they have a family. I don't know, does it happen nowadays? That is a game, But you know, which is very funny? It's like they are teaching themselves, or they prepare themselves for the future, isn't it? And you see those kids, they'll be acting as if they'll be taking what they have been seeing for their parents, and they'll be responsible. But all those kids, But the funny thing is, you see, if you think about you discover kuti do they have ngati kuti marules ngati kuti game kuti wa winner. Do you have winners in that one? It's a game but there are no winners. Uyuyu atawabanga kuti family ineyo ndizipanga chonchi, family ineyo kuti ife sizipanga wasunganira kuti izizola kuika izozo. All those could be okay, like they are doing it okay according to them. So simulations would be that one. First simulation normally it would be going to imitating real life situations, right? Well, games would be not just real, it could be anything. It could be something that is unreal, but it has got the rules and it's more restricted. Games are much more restricted and the simulations are more freer. But when we combine it, modern games, I think they combine now games as simulation together, right? Whereby, you remember in the past you would have, I think the oldest popular game was Mario, right? Mario, one of the very oldest, or maybe in here you see the blinking game in the Chuba Bible. Almost wherever you go, you find the blinking game. But you didn't see what was happening. You could be able to go through it. You can't say that was a real life situation. You don't know what is it to make a beauty part. But you find nowadays the same thing you could build in my PlayStation. It will now be a real house. That is a simulation, whereby they are likely creating a real life situation and it's giving you a chance or giving a chance to make real life decisions. So I think that's a little bit, but in this one, games are structured for interaction. Okay, games are activities for inefficient means, which means players to interact with the games represent activities of inefficiency, and that means do not achieve goals quickly and expediently, but rather challenged to do so within the context of the games. That's why I said that it's an inefficient in the sense that they can't do something outside of the rules. They are like restricted to specific rules. If you want to achieve this, you should follow this. So that's why they are called like that. But it's just one of the characteristics of the games. We talked about here again. It require, I think the term they use, I didn't like it. But what do you know is like, just think about like an agreement, right, for players, right? By agreement whereby they would say, okay, this is similar close to the rules whereby maybe there's going to be one player at a time, right? Or there are going to be a number of players, right, at the times. And one player should be in the game and play, follow the rules, do everything else to achieve something, right? And so whatever the player is playing, there are also expectations that if you are playing like this is what you are expecting, right? I think one of the examples of even simulation you see nowadays, FIFA games, whereby they like simulate the actual playing for football, right? English Premier League and the like, right? So another characteristics is also the games contain an equal and the certainty and separate outcomes, right? So I mean, not all of them could, if you are going to the end, but you find a lot of them whereby the outcomes could be different, right? And in most of the games that we play, you know, I think it was even the simplest games. Later you find that everyone is finishing. Even the big game I'm talking about. So that's one of the different outcomes. Some will be, so some people, I think those outcomes, if you are a teacher, will be telling you the level of knowledge people are getting, right? If somebody is getting closer to the highest marks, you know, this person, I think he has now acquired a lot of knowledge. If someone even is in a figure 100, then this person has got a problem. So, you know, that's how it can be placed. And also, in the same element, you have got that in terms of the unequal uncertainty and the separate outcomes. Meaning, there could be a winner, there could be a loser. right? So those are different outcomes, right? So or some also there could be the element of competitive and all that. Um, so I think this one in a bit I was supposed to talk about more about this, but I think we will talk about that later on. I got the just check here this interaction. I think in this one we'll come back to age later on, but let's go to simulation because we'll talk more about games. And for simulation, as we talk about, that is similar to the games, but simulation on the other hand, as opposed to the games, are usually models of situation in real life, right? So how do you know this is a simulated game? If you're saying that it's a game that looks real, or they are, I mean, because there are some other games they do the impossible, right? Hey, there's a war. I mean, it was, I think you see some of the games that you can find somewhere coins, and that coins can let you fly. The Mario, you fly in the air. That's not real life, right? Although maybe in real life, unless there's magic, it can happen. It's still a theory. We have to prove it. But in the normal life, that doesn't happen, right? But if you find games whereby they are, I mean, it's as if you are doing what you do in real life. That's what simulations are, right? And so in simulations, our participants are assigned specific roles which are recognized in the society, and they make decisions and solve problems according to specific conditions. So you have something which is like a game, but it will be much more realistic. As I say, what we talked about Zana, that it could be simulated whereby we say, okay, idubu kalamambo, idubu kalamai, and now you see mambo azipagadi gadi acting gadi mama kaliani mambo duel, so that's simulation, but it's funny. Good, our key, I think kids have been doing that. We have been doing that without knowing. Could we are doing simulation, but we know because all of a sudden, if you tell a kid to say, and even some of these kids, whereby I mean, that's why they say background is important, right? Some of the kids will say they become drunkards, they become. Some of them, you see the games they play. It's, you do become. We start from where they are the games. They'll be playing at. They'll be doing it from the kids. So they will take those things now. They will be imitating. As they are growing, they will be feeling like something that is maybe a good thing, right? So I mean, it's all like a learning process without them knowing, right? So simulation is like that, and the simulations are used, for instance, to provide experience on what occurs. For example, this is in a police station, in a court of law, or somewhere else, right? So I mean that's maybe the main element of this simulation. Let's see here, see your simulation. You have got the computer games, simulation that is used in these computer games. You have got the games, as I said, I mean, whereby you are given a chance. I think nowadays there are so many of them, right? I think one of the popular simulated games that it became, I mean, popularized these simulation games, because all these expensive games machines that have been sold, they are that expensive because they are simulated games, most of them. If you remember, temakata very unreal, temakata tigolo, tokuti you can't expect to play those games for, let me say, something like within 5 hours, or bleak game. Can you play a bleak game for 5 hours? Your head is going to. But it's the same thing, going through. While if you simulate the games, you have a desert storm whereby they will be telling you, this is what somebody can do in 1 day. Now you have different things. Uzienda ukaenda uduka nyumba utakupita pajapo, usienda upita town unega minutes, 5 minutes ukafika town. Uzungumana na watu msee, ukubada polisi. So that's something that you can take the whole day ukupaka play one game. But the thing is, usually this simulated games is they will be letting you encounter different situations that you might encounter in real life. So they will give you a chance to make a decision, to be making decisions. But okay, wapeza police, akupasa chance yokuti either uwapake bribe police, kapena uwatawe, kapena uwapake upaka decide, oh no, let me bribe them. Kena kupita, let me do this. So you do that often. That's why politics nowadays is funny. If you follow politics like American politics, that in America, you know, there's a Democrats, there are the Republicans, right? The Democrats depende Trump, the Republicans depende Kamala Harris. These two camps, they differ in policies, right? My policies have been my own. I mean, in the world right now. I mean, you might say these are destructive elements. They are on this side, I'm the left, the Democrats, whereby they like propagating what means freedom, limitless freedom, which in real life, if you give somebody limitless freedom, it can look okay in the short term, but it could be disastrous in the long term. That's why you have got the, I mean, it's like example the game, That's why you have got rules, whereby you have to limit yourself, you have to make a decision and control yourself in some other situation. So you have got those two camps, right? In America. So there's been, maybe you have heard it before in America, what are called the mass shootings. Video theater, so the Democrats has been said, is this all what is happening? Is because of the problem of gun control, right? You need to control the guns. So this side they said, no. I mean, you mean guns on their own. If you can take the guns, can the guns shoot people on their own? If they can be a gun here, right? If you don't have any intention in your mind to do bad with the gun, can you take a gun and shoot somebody, right? It's all in the mind, right? So that's what this side has been saying. So the side of the Trump side, including Trump himself, he talked about video games, which this side they said no, but it could be true, because just try to analyze right now. We check the old games, check the new games that was like most of the people in America play now. You're having games in the past. When you have a game, you didn't expect it to have a game whereby if you shoot someone, blood can come out. Nothing. Nowadays you have got games whereby if you shoot someone, blood will come in the game. Now they'll give you a chance in the game to shoot a police officer, to be working in the town. So it's okay. Do you know that you are teaching these kids? Because if you are telling a kid that he can have a gun, and the kid could not have to make a decision to say, hey, you don't shoot a police officer. You need to shoot the only maybe bad guys. But you are giving them a chance to shoot innocent people. So don't you think in real life that person could end up taking a gun and try to practice what he was doing in the game? So that's the connection. They could be the truth. Wait. Because I was saying you have good people in America that, or kids, just say usually. I know even the old people now they do that, but most of the kids, they could spend days or the whole day in a house playing a game like that. What are called violent games? But for us in the media, like journalism, for anything to say this is the cause of this, you don't just guess, right? So that's why we have been having research in the effects of mass media or the media, because even in these games we are talking about, if they are playing, it's like part of the media, right? So if a kid is playing a game the whole day, it's like as if the kid is watching TV, violent films or content the whole day. So in our media platforms, we have got some theories that were developed concerning the effects of the media. So there is one theory that talked about this element of the impact of they say heavy users. For example, there's a theory. Maybe you can go check these theories. A theory called the cultivation theory. It's a media theory, right? So cultivation theory, it talks about, I think these theories you did them when you are going to be doing your dissertation. Because when you are doing your dissertation, they say that you need to have a certain media theory. So there are so many media theories. For example, one of the common media theory is the agenda setting theory. Maybe you have heard it. You say the media sets the agenda, right? You can even ask yourself, could you just go and find out what people are discussing? You discover what they are discussing. Either they have seen hear that on TV or radio, or they have watched that on TV, or they have read it on the newspaper, or they have seen it on the social media. So what it means, if those content can change, also the discussion will change, right? So it's like the media is changing, it has got that ability. So if you try to back up, they say, okay, agenda setting theory, those are the example. So cultivation theory, there are also people, theorists who try to do research. They did research on the kids. They say the kids who are like heavy consumers of violent content or the television content, they will end up becoming violent, right? So there's that. You can later on try to try to prove it, because it's also about it. Do research yourself to try to see if it's true, right? Try to look at if you know a kid who usually ama film action, don't bother with the behavior game that. If you see the kid that you should know that I think that is working, right? Because it is there's a connection between watch. So that's one of them. So I was just saying the games, they're going to be that element of transferring what is being obtained, right? So let's just see quickly move on. I think I spent some time in this. Okay. So I think this is just a simple thing, like, and the good thing nowadays, if you go to these kindergartens, they adopted the idea of games. I think you know. If you go there, you don't find the good anagokala, I go visit a teacher. Usually you find there's a lot of games, but games and I go to people and I got they do. So that's just an example. So you have got different types of games. Like for example, in Agulako, like there's a scramble. Maybe I've seen it before. Scramble is one of the games. Scramble, it helps them students usually for vocabulary. Scramble, you have seen it. I think about letters. My letters my window selection. They'll mix the letters up. They'll tell a kid, can you rearrange these letters? It's similar to a little bit, I don't, but not exactly. Like when you see the newspaper, the game crossword puzzle. You have to think what the way you said it did, where the other did. It's a game, right? But the scramble, they will go take all those. So it means you are teaching these people to know the vocabulary. It's like the vocabulary, because they will know the letters that come out. They will the letter yakuti. For example, if you say car, if for them to say that cause, they could car CAR. If they put CARR, they will repair. At the end of the day, they will realize, okay, I did CAR, did a cause, they could have they could car the spell. So it's a process whereby you are teaching them. But as I've said, if you go to for kids, another my kids are busy at your games, and simulation to my kids. All the time you just be finding them sleeping. They're going to be sleeping, but they are active because I'm so can you do jagut? I'm actually busy. No wonder you know the kids after activity they will fall asleep, right? But they will lead more because once they see, and they can even tell you to know that they lead fast. Whatever they do is marketed about games, but when they watch on TV, they can even tell you the solution of a problem on TV. No, they're supposed to do on TV. It's what they've been learning. And so that's how things. So you have got Scrabble, which can teach the student how to build vocabulary, and in the process acquire knowledge of the language. We have got a game called Ludo. It's a game that they use dice, right? I think there's a number of games that they use dice, whereby this one is to do with the risk taking, because the Scrabble is a language. Dice, because you're taking a chance, it is giving you risky taking. See, you know what they do, like as I'm saying in my casinos, okay. Apapa that bet the 6, like they do in the betting. I know it's a game, so nowadays it has been popularized, whereby people they take chances. But if you see what happens in this betting, now people in Malawi, they are literally being baptized into the gaming, let me say into the gambling world, but it's a gaming world. It has never happened before. But what they do, you know, they will give you a chance to quick even the smallest amount. They what they do with these games, you see, you got 1-1. Or between these two teams, they're more likely to win the team which. So they're more likely, I mean, to score no chamber. Tokuti, we can drama, they get times 2. So, other times 2, like 1,000, they would you win 2,000. For you, they are the drama chamber. But now, at night, this is small amount. Saga it obvious. So you're not with it. They would suvaga drama zambi if you put small amount of money. But take a good waika 1 million. They get 80 times 2, that's 2 million. They would go with 1 million. So now people have started doing that. Oh, the smallest amount, in fact, the smallest amount is the obvious. They are lolera, and the Kwana move with Mascado location. Could the Antoanasuka dramas are good. So, he got the premium in the betting. See this as I come later. So, Dick Gagana, when you are thinking about this, good 50, good is just because of the ambitious. Could you know, maybe, but chances are they are very low. They will get a very probability. Probability is very high. For sure, he win. But you know, football, he must have a good yalusa. It can happen. It's all about the chance. Never come to Jabula, teaching Magna go in and Digamesa. What they get Walusa. What a person going to do? That's why we are hearing a lot of issues about why? I saw about whatever the case, these type of games now, you see, they will be now, because this we are going to be facing them in real life. In life, there will be situations whereby you need to take a chance. So this is more obvious. You could do A, B, A, B. You need to risk. You could do let me risk. So these are the games we will be teaching people to do, the students to do that. Let's risk. For risk is about 50-50. Who win a so win. So there's that game on Ludo, and there's the card games like this one. I would WH what? I don't know. I've never played it, but in this one is talked about the okay. I think this one is Mama Kama games like you have to be building something colorful, something. This is to do with the making a decision on the complex something. I think I've seen those games. I've seen like I've got my niece that I'm as well as my game. When I go on their place, they have got heaps of games, right? And this is where they are staying, because it's a place where very cold area sometimes where you have snow. And now with this too cold, they don't go outside like most of the time. They play games in the house. So you find the heaps. Then you can have a half of this table, just one image. So that image has been dismantled. I think we've seen those games. So you have to assemble them. This is package image boss. That's a complex issue. So it's something that will be for you to finish it. I think your brain is working in a certain level, right? So you have such games. So I say, unfortunately, which is very funny. Some of these games were just linked to entertainment, and then they were hijacked by the instruction. But nowadays, most of these games you discover in a simulation, you discover they'll be connected to gambling, right? which is very funny. Okay, so I don't know what's the time. I didn't even check the time. What's the time? Oh, it's already like this. Well, maybe because we started a little bit late, eh? Okay, I think it's almost done. Okay, let me just finish up maybe in 1 minute, whatever. Because this is the, if you can have a chance to create a game, eh? Doesn't matter how complex or how simple, it could be a very simple game. So these are just some of the planning elements you can use to game for game simulation. Just